when I'm talking to new people at the airport a lot, because it comes up a lot, because people are like, oh, are you in school right now? And they're like, what do you study? I'll be like, sociology. They'll be like, what are you going to do with that? Or like, what do you intend to end up doing with that? And kind of like, not a passive aggressive way, but like a doubtful way, kind of. So I'll just say there is a lot of fields, like a lot of social work stuff, like the international relations, which I'm really interested in, the community building. Like there is a lot you can do with it.
You're in your senior year now, so any kind of reflections back on your years of college as a sociology
Definitely,
major?
especially because I've had you many semesters, and when I first started out, because a lot of sociology classes are like discussion based, so like like raising your hand about readings, you'll like go over readings a lot in class, and for the first like year or two, I just never wanted to share any of my responses. It would just be like a kind of awkward silence, especially from me. But especially like last year and this year, I've definitely noticed I'm really more open with like sharing my responses and having these discussions, because it honestly benefits you a lot and the whole class as a whole.
Yeah, so you also learn public speaking.
Yeah, definitely. To be more comfortable with it.
Phrase your perspective on the big world.
Yeah, exactly.
So this semester we're working on an independent study project where we're really trying to look at how do students get jobs, what jobs do students do, what kind of information would be really useful, because a lot of times in college, as you know, we all know, it might not be the most practical information, especially when you think about just the practical steps of how to get a job. And so we started out just thinking about, do students even know how to, first of all, where do you look to find a job? And so we talked about different platforms. I really recommend the idealist.org, because that has a lot of nonprofit jobs, research jobs, stuff like that. The type of jobs that a sociology student would go into. And then see how these jobs are phrased. You know, how do they describe themselves, what the qualifications are, and how the description of the job is written up. We took that aspect of the writing and kind of distilled the sociology out of it and matched it with some kind of sociological keywords, you know, the kinds of classes that we teach and take, like global social problems, methodology, statistics, quantitative methods. And then we kind of matched that up with your experience in the real world as a worker. You know, the experience you mostly had was at the airport, and just kind of figured out the language of the job descriptions, sociology, and your work experience, and was trying to figure out basically how to take the work experience and phrase it in such a way that would be appropriate for a cover letter for this job, and also writing the resume. Because I think these are kinds of skills that students don't really get in college, of like how to write a resume, how to write a cover letter. So that's where we started. And so how was that for you?
I learned so much. Like what I had been doing before this independent study, like I can't believe I've ever had a job previously. Like even something as simple as like making sure your resume for each different job fits each different job. Like I thought you just had one set cover letter and then you're just good to go, or resume, and you're just good to go, but no, not at all. And even the resume I started with before coming here was just so bad, and same with the cover letters. Like I just never thought to like take the terminology from like applications themselves and using those words in it, and again tying it in with sociology and all the things I've done here. Like I remember I tied in from my capstone class, like the research project and just things like that. Like you can add so much in. And
so we cleaned up the resume.
And a lot.
And you know, that's the thing I was saying too, is that the student might apply to a lot of jobs and then lose a lot of jobs, not knowing why, not knowing that the resume's not great, that the cover letter's not great. You're losing jobs as you learn how to be better. We were able to clean up the resume, clean up the letter to really be appropriate for the job.
Yeah, exactly. To adapt it to each of the jobs I've applied to.
But then of course we just want to learn more about these particular jobs, the companies, the industry, and so we did more research on that topic.
Yeah, like for example, one of the jobs I was looking at was for like the International Rescue Committee, and I didn't know much about them and like what kind of things they were looking for, so I looked on their website, looked up information about it, and just kind of found what else I could see on the internet about like other people that have worked there, and just like what kind of job it really was and what kind of terminologies they use, all that kind of stuff.
And then how people are talking about it, what they do out in the world, to have more of an understanding, so that when you go into that interview that you're not too cold, that you can really kind of reflect back some of the words and terminology and just how the company itself talks about itself out in the world. But then we also wanted to look up individuals, right?
Yep.
We looked up the companies, but we also looked up the people that work there.
Yep.
And we went to places like LinkedIn just to see what kind of connections and networking we could make. So how was that experience? I mean, did you have a LinkedIn before that, or was this...
I had a LinkedIn before, but I never really used it much. I just like sometimes would just like browse jobs just to see like what LinkedIn was kind of like, and just as what everybody in the professional world kind of uses. I feel like even for jobs, I'm pretty sure they'll do things like look up your LinkedIn account.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to like have that kind of established before doing that. But yeah, I found it was a really helpful tool, and you can like within organizations you can see like who works for them and their LinkedIn accounts. You can reach out to them.
If you want to work at a particular company or in a particular industry, reach out to people that work in that job and see, just ask them how it is. Invite someone out for coffee or lunch, and buy them lunch, just to talk to people and hear what they really can honestly say about working with that company or in that industry or whatever.
Yeah, because it can really help to make sure that this is actually something you want to do, and it's not like what you weren't looking for, that it ended up being like the worst job in the world or something.
And also just to reach out to people. I mean, reach out cold. What does it hurt if they
the worst
don't reply?
Ignore you.
You're in the same place that you start. If you reach out to someone and they actually respond, then you're only learning or benefiting
it only helps,
from that. And so you reached out some folks.
I reached out to like 2 people from LinkedIn. I even tried to reach out to someone on TikTok, because I obviously at my age, social media is a really big aspect, and like people are posting like their day-to-day lives like at a specific job. So I like DM'd somebody that like did that, who worked for like the United Nations human rights area, but she like responded to me and then just like ghosted me a little bit. So I don't know, she might have just be busy too, because that's obviously a very needed job right now. So
but I think even that in itself is just really great practice to just reach out to people and to cold reach out to people. For me, I'm a professor and I'm a published author, and so sometimes I get emails, someone read my book and they're, saying something nice about it. And that doesn't happen like very often, so when it does happen, it really makes my day and it makes me feel good.
Be like a mutual benefit.
So that's what I tell people is like reach out and write to them, because it's not like they're overwhelmed with all of that kind of stuff. And so people would appreciate that. So it doesn't hurt to just
exactly.
reach
And
out.
again, even if they don't answer, that only like benefits you with like practicing being rejected and things like that.
Yeah, exactly, because that's what it's about, is networking and just reaching out and just
building
some kind of arbitrary things. Like it's just, you never know what's going to happen, so it's worth it to just kind of put a lot of effort out there and just try.
See where that path takes you.
And then, of course, we did apply to real jobs.
I did submit them,
So we had to look up for like real jobs that are active and open right now. Because of course we found plenty of jobs that were just closed or whatever.
Of course, because they'll be open for like a week. Because on LinkedIn especially, you'll see it'll show you like 300 people have already applied to this job. So it shows like your competition, and then it also like will show like how long the job is open for. So that was helpful.
Yeah, because I don't think even just applying for jobs, that's a practice. You might have to apply for 100 or 200 jobs. So it's like, get started now. Because a lot of students might wait till they graduate and then start applying.
And I've had a lot of coworkers when that's happened with, and then it could literally take you like a year to find a job, just because again it is a really competitive field, especially when you just graduate. Like it's definitely good to plan ahead for that, so you have a plan right when you graduate.
Right now we're in our fall semester, and so it's like start applying now because it's going to take a while. I mean, students don't really realize how long it could take to get a job. And so start now. And we were even talking, like, if you got so lucky that you get a job in the spring semester,
take it.
We were even talking about like make your schedule so that it could accommodate.
And I actually did too. I have like 4 online classes and then like 1 3-hour class, and that's something that's like Tuesday, Thursdays. But accommodating.
So you're ready, get that job with school.
Just in case.
I mean, that would just be the most fantastic outcome.
The perfect transition.
Start working while you're still in school. So we get to the point, we've applied for the jobs, we've reached out to people, we're networking, we've got our language down, we're studying these different organizations and jobs and stuff. And so of course we have to prepare for the job interview potential. And you're also taking another class that's really helping you do that kind
Build communication.
What is that class?
It's a communications class, and it's actually really helpful. It's more focused towards social work, as for like helping social workers communicate, but obviously that's very beneficial to me as well, especially with establishing rapport and stuff.
Yeah, because you did things like, you're interviewing your fellow classmates. And just on the spur.
Every day. Every class. Like she'll give us cards of like a topic to talk about, and like she's like, you can't just answer the question, you need to have like a whole 5-minute conversation with them. So I didn't even realize that how much that class would actually help for like my communication strategies and things.
Yeah, because it's the job interview, because we were talking about the job interview, and it's a lot about just that interpersonal rapport, you know, like you want to, first of all, behave professionally, speak professionally, present yourself, professionally as appropriate to that particular job, and know what that looks like. But also, like, you want them to like you, as a person, and just have a rapport. So we even talked about things like when you go to their office, you're kind of looking around to see what sports team that they like, or whatever.
Form a connection with them about.
So it's just, it's good practice with anyone to just establish a rapport, like, oh, I see you have this thing on your shelf, like we can talk about that. But also at the airport, you had the opportunity to sit in on some interviews when your boss is interviewing other people. That's such a great thing, because then you can be an observer. You can see how the process goes. And you're even debriefing with your boss, like what went well, what didn't. So what was that experience like?
So that was actually really cool. So he was just talking about how he has to go interview people because the airport opened up for my company a new branch for de-icing. So they didn't have anyone. They had to get all new people for that. So they had a lot of job interviews. So he said he has a few interviews waiting and he's going to go do them. I was like, oh, can I come watch? And he was like, yeah. So I remember the first guy that came in, he was actually pretty good. He seemed fit for the supervisor position that they had open. The only thing is he did have an issue with oversharing a lot. Like I even found that at one point he was asking him for his jean size because they had to order pants for the job.
Uniform.
And he called his wife in the middle of the interview because he doesn't, which is a like typical thing for a married man, I feel like, to not know his own clothing size. So mid-interview called his wife and put her on speakerphone and asked for her. So like he was, other than that, like really good. Like he had a lot of previous experience that fit the job, which was really cool to see how like that connects and like how he like established himself. And he like was dressed up really nicely and like dress shirt on, dress pants, because it turned out he was the only interviewee that came dressed like that. Because also in the middle of this interview, my boss got a phone call from somebody else that was coming, because the airport's a little bit confusing, so people like call him and like, hey, where are we going? So the person, he answers the phone, the person immediately starts dropping F-bombs, saying like, where the F do I go? Like, I don't know where to go. So he immediately hangs up and he's like, well, don't think we want him working here. But it's not like, a good a terrible first impression. You'd think that would be common sense, like first of all, just not to swear and to just present yourself as pretty professional. And then it turned out when we walked out of the room, you could see 2 more people waiting for the interview and could immediately point him out. He's just wearing like a white t-shirt, like sweatpants, like he was just not it was not fit for any job really, coming like that and giving that kind of impression, which was really crazy to me.
And that's like an education to you too, just to know that people
do show up like that.
And we were just talking about also just at your current work too, or wherever you find yourself, to network, and you never know like
who you might
brother
meet.
Or whatever.
So it's best to remain pretty as professional as you can at all times.
And you have a lot of potential connections, and even working at the airport, you see a lot of
everything.
People.
Everything there.
So we're at the end of the project, and we just wanted to create something that's useful for other students to learn from our process. And so we're putting together this like brochure, infographic type of flyer that we can hand out to students, at the open house and stuff like that. And just kind of also use your specific example, but just broaden it to what kind of message we can really give sociology students about practical advice on how to pursue jobs and employment after college. college. And so we're working on that now, and how's that going?
Pretty good. Pretty much just summing up all the things we were kind of talking about.
The thing too is you're learning how to kind of synthesize, like,
absolutely, because this is a lot of information, and obviously if we said all of this onto a piece of paper, everyone's going to look at it, be overwhelmed, and not want to read it. So kind of just had to like separate into little categories, like starting off with like just kind of establishing what experience you've had and how you can correlate that with your jobs, then like how to build a resume, cover letter, like prepare yourself for interviews. Like we were also kind of talking about like watching YouTube videos to prepare yourself for like what they might be talking about, kind of doing that, and like kind of adding nice pictures too, so it again isn't just too overwhelming.
That's also just a good skill too, is just
how to
communication, but in print form, but how make it succinct and just easy to understand.
Yeah, that is a little bit hard at first to like summarize this and like just like the most important key points that like I feel other students should know. My biggest takeaways pretty much, because I obviously every meeting we had I was like, oh my gosh, anytime you teach me something.
We did have kind of a breakthrough.
Literally every single every like step we took.
You applied for some research jobs, and so we were talking about quantitative research skills, and of course all of our students do quantitative, they do qualitative, they do the statistics for social science, and so there's a lot of research jobs. That's a great area for sociology students to go into, and so we just wanted to kind of refresh on our quantitative, especially research skills, because those are the most marketable. Qualitative research could go into like marketing, UX design, user experience for technologies, websites.
Pretty much anything,
But we were focusing on quantitative research skills. And so we looked at YouTube because, for example, you could just brush up on the kind of
like
language.
SPSS too.
And the particular skills, like the students did learn SPSS and some other platforms, but just to kind of brush up on those.
So then when you're in the interview and they're asking you about it, you have it fresh on your mind, and you're not thinking like you actually look experienced in what you're talking about.
And also just to be able to see other similar platforms, both for quantitative research, for qualitative research.
There's so many.
And just to have them in your mind, you know, to be able to talk about.
Absolutely,
So, and you did apply. Did you get any rejections?
I haven't gotten anything back yet. I just got like the confirmation emails from them, like congrats on applying. But so far nothing yet. So don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah, we don't know.
There's a good chance if they don't give me that they're not going to ever reach out to me. So
you don't necessarily get
the opportunity to get a rejection letter. I mean, that's the thing, is you'll never know like why they rejected you. They're not going to tell you that. No, they're not. That could reflect negatively
legal liability. You know, so they're not going to. But even you don't even learn that the job has closed and that you weren't hired. So not hearing back, like,
it's a big
that's
which
just
we we anticipated too, which again is just getting more experience. It's not a bad thing. So
and so hopefully you'll get a job interview in the future, be able to present yourself well in the interview,
take everything I've learned.
Of course you're learning the new job when you start it. Talk to people, see how happy they are, and also just think about things like, could this company maybe pay for your further education?
Yes, which is definitely a big thing.
Particular skills, like maybe you can learn particular skills that would be useful for your resume, or any kind of opportunities that job can lead into, and of course that job can lead into the next job.
Exactly. Like you might not start out at like your dream job, so that can just build experience. Which is
and that's what we talked about too, is have the patience
with it. Even
it doesn't look good. So you're not so happy there. It's like you really want to kind of just have some track record on your resume, and so it looks good just to have at least a year, like have some time on the job. So stick it out just to have that like
experience. Because it's not going to look good too. They see work somewhere for like 3 months, and it just shows you can't hold down a job. So they don't want that.
So at least with you and your airport job, you have you've lasted
like
longer
2.5 years.
Most people
coming on 3 actually in March. Very quick quick turnover rate, but
yeah. So overall, just, you know, hopefully this was an independent study that is useful and practical.
Yeah,
and it's actually given you something, like now you have a resume, you got some
exactly,
cover letters, you know.
So I have like the template for those. So again, and it's the field I want to work in, so I don't fully even have to change the look that much. Again, just adapting it with the terminology of other jobs I might look at in the future, but I definitely intend to stay in the same field, so it was very helpful, especially the resume especially too, because I just can't believe how like off it was in the beginning.
Yeah, at least now you see that.
Absolutely.
Because when did you have ever learned that? You know,
never.
Like, yeah, in conclusion, you know, like hopefully you're still glad that you're a sociology major.
Yes, very glad that I found this, because when I realized health studies was not for me, I panicked and had no idea what I wanted to do. But I love sociology, and I'm really glad I've learned all the different career paths it can lead me to. So
yeah, and your journey's not over.
No, definitely just beginning, really.
Yeah. So definitely keep in touch and come back.
Absolutely,
you know, as an alumni.
Definitely, I love all the sociology professors here. Like, absolutely, like you guys have all helped me with so much, so I definitely will.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for thank you for everything you taught me that I would never have learned. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you.